since November 2023, we've seen this blockade in the Red Sea continue, and it stopped for a time during the first Trump-brokered ceasefire. We haven't had another one since, of course. It was a very brief pause. We talked about the Hague Group, and you mentioned that it was over a dozen countries coming together. The conclusions for the Hague Group were a little more softer than how Ansar Allah is reacting. How would you compare the two?
I think the Hague Group is long overdue. It's definitely, to me, a global South-led effort. But the point is, it's quite risky. You know, you get together and you conspire to levy sanctions against a country like Israel. Expect dirty tricks at the UN and everywhere else. And the United States will then probably retaliate with punitive tariffs against all of these governments for, hurting their ally. And that's supposedly a violation or against their U.S. national interests. So Israel's national interests are America's national interests by extension. In terms of arms embargoes and things like this, it should have been done a long time ago. My frustration with this is that there are mechanisms at the UN General Assembly level, like the Uniting for Peace resolution, where they could get together and bypass the UN Security Council, and they have a number of tools at their disposal once that consensus is reached, including UN General Assembly mandated sanctions. First and foremost, suspending Israel from the United Nations. I mean, that's number one. That should have happened already. And then sanctions. A country the size of Israel, it doesn't take much in terms of sanctioning to really put heavy pressure, and people will feel it there. And in some ways, it could be even more devastating than Iran's missile attacks in terms of public approval of how the government's dealing with this situation. They've been allowed to basically escape that. And to me, this is the most frustrating thing, because that's supposedly a painless way that countries can act to try to restrain Israel without getting involved militarily in the vein of ending South African apartheid, etc. But it's not happening. And yet, at the same time, the United States is just sanctioning people left, right, and center with the intent of hurting them. They're even ready to sanction their allies. And they're doing that with Russia, with secondary sanctions against anybody trading with Russia. And that's going to be interesting to see how that is actually going to pan out and what that's going to actually mean. I like what the Bogota meeting is about. Even a country like Brazil, they're in a perfect position to do something like this and just go full-on embargo, everything, trade, military equipment, the whole lot. If a few countries did that, it would embolden others to follow. So hopefully something comes out of this.